exactly in the.
Okay, sorry, we're recording. I forgot to press record earlier. Sorry.
So that's okay. And it's exactly science fiction. And Herbert Wells
I
has
would say
written.
definitely there. I would say it's definitely science fiction, yeah, rather than exactly science fiction.
Mhm,
Exactly is more closer to precisely when you're saying that something is precisely the case or exactly the same. But when you're saying that something is definitely true, I think
mhm,
when you're dealing with how likely something is to be true, you're more likely to use definitely. So it's definitely
mhm.
science fiction.
It's definitely science fiction. And his book is called Time Machine,
The
if
Time
I'm,
Machine. Yeah, The Time Machine.
if I'm not mistaken. Mhm,
No, you're not mistaken. I've read this one, not
mhm.
the original. I must admit, a kind of easier version that I shared with my students. So I know the story very well.
And there was a description in his imaginable world, but it is imaginable, but
Imaginary world. His
imaginary
imaginary.
world. It's
Uh-huh.
imaginary world, but he depicts a society when it gets mm, more uh, difference between two kinds of people people who servicemen like slaves and people who have a lot of power, a lot of opportunities and stuff like that, and they factually um, made two human races.
Yeah, so we became two different species, yeah, the slaves and the masters.
Mhm. Human race became two different species.
Good.
So, what do you think, David, about it? Can it be realistically uh, development of our human society, or it is impossible, for example? What
Yeah, what do
do
you
you
think?
think?
Is it a realistic prediction? What do you think, David?
Uh, I'm sorry. The prediction is about what? Sorry.
So that he predicts in the time machine that the human race will become two different species. One species which is more powerful and they are like the masters, and another species who are they live underground, in fact, in the time machine, but they're like the slaves and they gather the resources for the people on the top.
That I haven't read that book, but that story is familiar to me because there are too many movies based on the same
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah, there are certainly. And what do you think about this concept? Do you think the human race will split into two? Do you think it already has? I don't know. There are lots of different opinions out there.
I don't know. For example, in my country, the the society is too polarized. So there are uh, there are some people that is richer, but is too rich, and other people that is too poor.
Okay.
So actually, is something similar. It's not that crazy, to be honest.
Okay, yeah. So there already is a kind of master class and slave class, yeah, or certainly a much smaller and higher upper class or richer, and a much larger lower class, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that we are going to reach the extreme situation where we will have slaves and masters, but it's not that crazy concept. It's not a crazy concept, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you. I know what you mean that they're still the same species. So it's not perhaps as H.G. Wells describes at the moment. But yeah, it's not so unrealistic. What do you
Yeah.
think, Sergey, concerning this, concerning the human race splitting into
Mhm.
two?
It takes a lot of time, but it can happen. It might happen,
Good.
but it of course will take a lot of time, like centuries. But we see that the nature develops, the nature changes, and we have the things that nothing can be very stable. For example, when you're riding your bicycle, you can only move. You can't stop and be on your bicycle. You must ride. So nature can't be the same as it is now. It will develop, it will change and get more sophisticated. And who knows, maybe things that we think is unimaginable.
Things that we think are unimaginable.
Mhm. Things that we think are impossible
Good.
now in the 21st century. But things might change, and we will see a lot of things that we can't imagine. Another thing I
Okay,
want
good.
to mention here is that nature has produced a lot of species, like, for example, 200 species, and from these 200 species survived only one or two variety. So
Varieties.
varieties, and only and you easily understand that 498 species get lost. They vanished in the this fighting between species. So we can, from this fact, calculate that the fighting between species is very strong, very brutal, and so only the smartest, the more приспособленные,
Better adapted.
better adapted will survive only.
Aha.
So just think about these figures. 2 species survive and 498 species will vanish. It is not my fingers that I invented right now. That's the science tells us.
That's what the science tells us. Yeah, that's what science tells us.
It's a homemade truth, I would say.
Okay, yeah, I think it depends on your ideas about evolution, because I think you're talking about the theory of evolution in this, when we're talking about species dying out and going extinct, yeah, and other species staying around. And I do agree, by the way, that nature can't stand still. Nature always changes and develops, but I'm not so sure about evolution, if I'm honest. It's something that I'm still not convinced that Darwin was necessarily right. I think of it as a theory, a philosophical idea, even more than a scientific one, because I think it's something that's very hard to test in a laboratory. You know, I think that science is always something you ought to be able to test if it's science, you know, otherwise it's not science, it's something we can debate. What do you think about it? Go on.
I'm not talking exactly about evolution. I'm
Okay.
talking about the way person develops. For example, you, Dave, when you were young and you had another ideas,
Sure.
desires, and
yeah, completely different person. Yeah,
exactly. So you have changed.
definitely.
So the same things with nature. So it's changeable.
I
don't know if
agree.
it's
You know, I
for
do.
worse. I don't talk it's for worse and it's for better. It just changes and tries to get how more adaptable to every change in
we
the
adapt, yeah, to new environments, new situations. Yeah, we always say adapt to. It's always that preposition, adapt to the new environment.
Sometimes it's too cold, sometimes it's too hot, too wet or too dry.
Yeah, I would say that we
So,
very often have to adapt to new technology. I actually think it's new technologies that really change human nature. So, for example, the printing press, I think, really massively changed human consciousness and human relationships as well, the relationships we have with other people. And gunpowder has massively changed human relationships. I would argue that equality, the idea of equality, wouldn't exist without gunpowder. Gunpowder made us equal. Yeah. What do you think, David?
Yes,
interesting.
and nowadays we need a great capacity to adapt because technology is changing so too fast. Uh,
Absolutely, so fast, it's
so
unbelievable.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, for example, artificial intelligence. 5 years ago, was something that uh, I have never heard about, but now it's changing every single month. So we need to have a capacity to adapt to these changes quickly.
Excellent. Yeah. And do you use AI for anything at work, for example?
Yes, yes. Actually, I use artificial intelligence to check my programming codes, to, for example, in my English learning, to understand how to express some ideas that you can translate literally. So
Ah,
I am using artificial intelligence for many things. It is part of our lives now.
it is certainly. It's out there. I mean, I noticed it immediately because all of the essays which were sent to me by students were AI. They're not. They weren't. Students weren't working anymore. They decided AI will write my essays. But yeah, of course, I see it being used everywhere, and I'm sure that it will continue to grow in terms of adoption. You know, more and more people will use it, I'm sure. Sergey, do you use AI for anything?
Not, not sorry. I actually don't believe in this kind of devices. As for uh, English learning, of course, I use voices to check if this or another word I pronounce
Yeah.
properly,
So
correctly.
important in English where you can't know from looking at the word. You know,
Mhm.
I see this with names. We never know how to pronounce names in English because there are so many different ways we can use the vowels and the consonants for sounds. And so, of course, you need to check the pronunciation, and you
Mhm.
can usually do that in a good dictionary. You just press the
Mhm.
speaker button, don't you? And it shows you how it's said.
So sometimes I can copy paste some text, some little text, and put it in some artificial voice,
Uh-huh.
and the gadget reads me it,
Yeah.
and
It
I
reads, not
kind of
reads me, it reads it to me. The gadget
read
reads it to me.
gadget read this text to me, and
Good.
I kind of have some general idea of how sounds must be pronounced, how words should sound. Of course, I understand that human being would add to this text more information, like how melody of speech would be, because we want it or not, but automatic machine can't read
Yeah.
things emotionally,
Yeah.
can't read it 100% natural. So in
Yeah,
any case,
naturally.
we can notice some strange notes in the speech, especially when it's, I don't know, in Ukrainian speech or Russian, because no machine can get the idea of how tonation, how music will go up and go down and stuff like that.
I agree, certainly. You'll never get that from an AI, certainly not. It can't mimic humans that well
Mhm.
yet, anyway.
And especially like Japanese languages, Chinese languages, where words like has tones, like some
Yeah.
tone up, down, and like four notes.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. I think that language learning has to be done with people. You know, I really do. I feel very strongly about this. That I've heard people tell me that AI is going to take my job, and I don't believe that. You know, I think, okay, go and use the AI. It's already there. You know, I think this a little bit about things like Linguo and stuff like that. When I've tried them, I mean, like apps on the phone, and some of them, I'm sure some of them are very good, but the ones I've tried, they generally test words in isolation, and I don't feel like I'm getting it in context. You know, words always collocate with other words, and so you ought to learn words in a web of other words. And I find it too much when I'm using apps on the phone to learn a language. It's too isolated. It doesn't show me the whole context. You know, like what we get here when we talk to each other. We get words in context, we get them in whole sentences. And if I were going to give my younger self some advice about language learning, you know, I didn't know this at all as a 12-year-old. I only knew English. My parents are both English, you know, and I had no idea what it meant to learn a language. I would tell myself, don't learn single words. Throw away that vocabulary book with single words there, with the Russian word and the English word and the Russian word and the English word, because that's a useless way of learning. The way to learn it is to learn in sentences. Always learn in sentences or full ideas. That would have helped me, just that little bit of knowledge, because I honestly thought you could just learn it like that, just the one-to-one relationship between the Russian and the English word, and then you'd be able to speak Russian. But that's certainly not the case in any language.
I have to say that as a human beings, our nature is to be afraid of new things,
True.
and it's just happening right now with AI.
Uh-huh.
The same thing with other technologies in their time. For example, when the calculator was invented, they said that math teachers were going to lose
Yeah.
his jobs, their
Yeah,
jobs.
don't need maths teachers anymore. We've got calculators.
Yeah, but at the end, it's just a tool more. You need to incorporate in your life, and the thing with artificial intelligence is that your job is going to be more meaningful.
Uh-huh.
You the AI is going to take overall or operative jobs, repetitive jobs, things like that.
Yeah, and so
So
that's a good thing. We don't want these repetitive jobs.
yeah, it's something boring, to be honest.
Yeah.
So the prediction is that AI is going to with the AI, your job is going to be more meaningful.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it will be something which is not repetitive and boring that you're doing, because we can give those jobs to the AI.
Yeah, but at the same time, it has its downsides.
Uh-huh.
When you were talking about essays, for example, writing an essay but on your own is something important to develop your brain, your neural connections.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And so, of course, if people stop doing that, their language abilities will suffer. And yeah, I was talking to a colleague just earlier, and she was saying that a lot of her students now just take photos immediately of the task and use the translate on the, you know, the auto translate on their phones. And of course, if you're constantly depending on a translation device, your skills won't develop as quickly as if you're actually trying with your brain to work it out each time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you agree, Sergey?
I don't know. Sometimes when I study physics
Uh-huh.
and I want to get the idea of some physical processes like evaporation, I don't know, gravity, I use uh, uh, ready homework. It is when you get the answers exactly after the task. And sometimes it helps me to get the idea. And of course, like learning English just by words, isolated words without phrases, without context, it's a bad idea. But when you do your first steps in language, I
When
think
you
it's
make your
okay.
first steps,
When
sorry,
you-
make your first steps, make a step, yeah.
When you make your first steps in learning English, I think it's okay. Like if your vocabulary not better than like 200 words or maybe
Yeah. When you're just learning
500.
colors and then numbers and then
So that's okay. But of course, the more you learn language, the more you get acquainted with it. Of course, you must go from isolated words to phrases, to collocations, to chunks of language. The same here in physics when I read the answer and when I read how other person will accomplish this task, what decision he has, and how somebody made this task. When I
did this task.
so,
Sorry, you do a task.
When I have seen the first, the second, and when I see similar problem the third time, I already able to make decision myself. So, and I can solve without watching answers, without
looking at the answers,
without
not
looking
watching.
without looking at answers. So I think when people are too weak in knowledges, when it requires too much strength for them to solve things, when people are not adequate to the task, for example. Sometimes it is like salvation for them to get the idea of the task, and it's just phase after phase. So one phase you use your cell phone to translate it, and when you will get lazy to click the buttons of
When
your
you
cell
get,
phone,
yeah, not when you will get, but just when you get lazy.
when you get lazy and you see that some words actually have watched a lot of time when these words are the same, of course you can start understanding without any cell phone. So
Yeah.
it's step by step. It's kind of development of person, how this person can solve these problems.
Yeah, so the phone can help with, especially in the early stages, yeah, where you might want a little bit of background about the topic that you're learning, and
So
yeah, the phone can help.
people mustn't just misuse it and to rely on their gadgets too much and
Yeah.
start working from some point. People start work themselves and make their own efforts.
They need to make their own effort at some point, otherwise, yeah, they won't learn the language or whatever topic it is. Yeah, I hear you. I do. Okay, perhaps let's try something different for the last 15 minutes, guys. I mean, we can use the picture stories, which I've used many, many times. I'm sure you've seen them, or we can do a little bit of grammar. What would you prefer? I like to leave it up to you guys. What do you think, David? Do you prefer grammar or do you prefer a story?
I'll go with the flow.
You go with the flow, Sergey? What do you think, Dave?
Grammar, maybe?
Yeah, grammar. Okay. Let's try gerunds and infinitives, because I think it's something which is often tricky. Yeah, or reporting verbs, that kind of thing. I know that they're hard. And I'll see if we can find one task up here. 1 second. Okay. Let's try this one. Okay, yeah. Perhaps we'll... Okay, hold on a second to try this one. Yeah, that's better. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. 1 sec, guys. Let's try sharing. Let's share. Okay, so I've just got to change a few bits and then let's try it here. Okay, can you see this? Psychology of music. I will make it bigger because that is quite small.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so let's see if you can handle this, guys. If it's too easy, we'll go on to something a lot harder. So skiing is my favorite sport. What do you think for number 2? You've got to choose like gerunds or 2+ infinitives, really. Number 2. Can you see it there, David?
Yeah. My husband doesn't mind doing the housework.
Doesn't mind doing. Excellent. Okay, number 3, Sergey.
It's impossible to sleep in the heat.
Okay, number 4, Dave. Be careful.
Our teacher make us to check our homework.
Mm-mm.
I would say make
Go on.
us check our homework.
Makes us check. Yes, makes us check. Be careful with make somebody do something. It's a very common error. Make somebody do something, let somebody do something, and even help somebody do something. Those 3, they take the bare infinitive, which is really rare. You know, it's usually bare infinitive after modal verb and bare infinitive, but make somebody do, let somebody do, and help somebody do. I'll perhaps write those on here somewhere if I can work out how to do it. Okay, we'll leave it. Keep going on to number 5. Sergey?
John Doctor suggested seeing a specialist about his back.
Good. Suggest doing, recommend doing. Excellent. Suggested seeing. Okay, number 6, David?
Let's not go by train. It will be easier to drive.
Excellent. After adjectives, 2+ infinitive. Number 7, Sergey?
My girlfriend's very possessive. She doesn't let me go out with my friends anymore.
Good. Let somebody do, make somebody do. They are the 2 that I want everybody to be aware of because they usually catch people out. Okay, number 8, David?
Traveling alone is in a strange country can be a fascinating experience.
Good. Traveling alone in a strange country can be a fascinating experience. Sometimes you do see 2+ infinitive as the subject. You can. And so to travel alone can be a fascinating experience. I don't hear any mistake there at all. And so traveling alone or to travel alone. This is often the case when the verb is subject. Okay, number 9, Sergey?
Kim expects expects to receive the test results by Friday.
Good. Now give me a second answer, which is also correct.
Expects receiving the test results by Friday.
No. Any ideas, David? There's a second answer here.
To have received.
Good. To have received. After expect and promise and there aren't many words here. Expect, promise, hope is another one. After 3 or 4 verbs, you can use perfect 2+ infinitive, especially when it's by Friday, by the end of next week, by the end of the year. You very often see we hope to have finished it by the end of the year. Yeah, we expect to have finished it. We hope to have received the test results. Yeah. It's just a little bit exotic. It's quite exotic grammar. It's not, you can't use it with all verbs. You can only do it with expect, promise, pretend works as well, and hope, where you're talking about a future completed action. And it's usually with that preposition by, and you say by the end of the week or by Friday. Yeah. It's not in many situations. There are a few other verbs that take perfect 2+ infinitive, seem, claim, and appear, but that's usually about perfect past. Yeah, it's about something that was completed in the past. You know, he seems to have lost all his money. Yeah, and that means that in the past he lost all his money. It's not something about future predictions, but this to have done, it can be used for future completion or for past completion. It depends on the verb. Expect, hope, and promise are future completion, but seem, claim, appear are for past completion. Yeah.
I would propose you to make a video on exactly this topic.
I propose
it would be
making
interesting.
a video. Go on. I propose making, yeah, because propose is like suggest and recommend. It's gerund. I propose making, or I propose you make. You know, you can use subjunctive as well here. I propose that you make. That's like the subjunctive form.
So this idea about these verbs expect, hope, and so on can be interesting for people, and the video would be very interesting.
I think I've already made a video here. I think so. I'm not sure which courses you're on, but you're probably on the advanced grammar. Yeah. Are you on advanced grammar?
Yes, maybe it's
Yeah.
advanced grammar or just grammar. I must check
Yeah,
it out.
there are quite a lot of courses. I understand what you mean, but that main one, I think it's on there, and I think it will be on the part called perfect infinitive. I think it's that lesson. Anyway, try number. I think it's David now. David, number
Yeah.
10.
We would like to pay our bill now as we're leaving early.
Excellent. We would like to pay. After would like, it's always to plus infinitive. After like, you can use either. You can use gerund or to plus infinitive, really, with like. And would like is another one where you often see perfect infinitive for future completion. Yeah, we would like to have finished it by the end of the month. Just like expect and promise and pretend. Would like is another one. And so, yeah, it doesn't work in this sentence because it's now. It's not future completion. It's now. So we would like to pay our bill now as we're leaving early. Okay, excellent. Let's try the next one, part C. So, Sergey, we won't do number 1. My sister is trying to find a job. That's clear. But number 2.
Do you remember the apple tree in our parents' garden when we were children?
So you've got to
Do you
choose a verb
remember
from here.
climbing? Do you
Good.
remember climbing the apple tree in our parents' garden when we were children?
Good. Why is it not to climb? Because remember, remember to lock the door, remember to close the window. Why is this gerund?
Because infinitive watch into the future and remember.
Good.
It's kind of a verb that look at past.
Good. Yeah, sometimes it does. Sometimes it looks at the future. Yeah, remember to lock the door is looking to the future. But sometimes you say, do you remember meeting me last week? Yeah, at that place. And then you're looking backwards. And yeah, you can say, do you remember climbing the apple tree? You can even say, do you remember having climbed the apple tree? You can use a perfect gerund there after remember and after forget. Do you remember having climbed the apple tree? I don't think it's very common. I think climbing is much more common, but having climbed is also a possibility. Okay, excellent. Number 3, David.
We need to call a plumber
Excellent.
because the shower is broken.
And now give me the same sentence, but start with a plumber needs
To be called.
Needs to be called, or even needs cooling. The plumber needs cooling. You can actually say needs and then gerund, but it has to be when it's needs to be called. Yeah, when it's passive, basically, it needs to be called or needs cooling. Excellent. Number 4.
Laura forgot to send her mother a birthday card.
Excellent. 2 plus infinitive. Yeah,
forgot
same.
To send.
Forgot to send. Excellent. Again, you explained this last time. Yeah, because it's looking forward. Okay, number 5, David.
I remember to buy.
Yeah, excellent. This is looking forward.
To buy the milk.
Good, but I forgot to buy any bread. Okay, number 6, Sergey.
If you can't sleep at night, try counting sheeps.
Try counting sheep. Yeah, try counting sheep. Yeah, why not? Excellent. Try counting sheep. Excellent.
Read a book.
Try reading.
try reading a book in bed. It will
Good.
help you relax. Try
Good.
reading.
So what's the difference between try to do and try doing?
I don't know. Actually, natural for me, try to read a book in bed, but I consider this from my Russian perspective, you know. Try reading. It sounds both versions are okay for me.
That they are both technically they are both grammatically correct, but there's a slight difference in meaning. Do you know the meaning difference, David?
I think try to is something like an experiment, to perform an experiment, something
I
like
would
that.
say it's the
Or
opposite way around. Try
it's the
doing
opposite.
is an experiment, I'm afraid. Yeah. Try to do is when you try hard to do something. Whereas
Okay.
try doing is an experiment. And so here, you can't sleep. Try
Oh,
counting sheep, try reading a book, try doing this, try doing that. Maybe it will work. But yeah, try to
okay.
get to the top of the mountain because it's hard, it's difficult. There's try with difficulty, try to do, and try as an experiment, try doing. So
Okay.
yeah, you've obviously read about it somewhere before because you're giving the right answer, but just the wrong way round. Okay, number 7.
That shirt needs uh, to be ironed if you want
Good.
to wear it
There's a
tonight.
second correct answer here. It needs to be ironed, or because
Or
it's
needs
passive with need, and with need you can use gerund if it's passive.
Ironing.
Yeah, needs to be
ironing.
ironed
That shirt
or needs ironing. Both
ironing.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it needs to be ironed or that shirt needs ironing. Yeah, you can say,
Okay.
I need to clean the car or the car needs cleaning. The car needs to be cleaned. And it's always the same as that, to
Okay.
be cleaned. It's the same as the passive form. The car needs cleaning, the car needs to be cleaned. They're both correct as well. Okay, and number 8. So
We'll
yes,
never, we'll never forget a romantic weekend in Paris with my first boyfriend. I will never forget spending, maybe. I
excellent.
will
I'll
never
never forget.
forget spending a romantic weekend in Paris with my first boyfriend. Spending.
Again, you're looking backwards, yeah. And so if you're looking backwards to the past, then you use the gerund. If you're looking forwards, then you use the 2+ infinitive. I
Of
consider
course,
all of
to
these things
spend,
nuances, but go on.
you see, to spend is impossible here. I'll
It's
never forget
impossible.
to
It's not
spend.
correct. Yeah, you can't say I'll never
100%
forget.
impossible. But if you say try to read a book or try reading a book, it sounds not impossible for me at all.
They're
It's
both okay there because when you think about it, it might be difficult to read. Try to read a book. I think that just it adds that element of difficulty. Whenever you use the 2+ infinitive, these are nuances. They are, but with number 8, definitely you can't use to spend when you're looking back. You can't. It's the
absolutely.
same if I say something like, "I'll never forget meeting my wife in Schokoladnitzer." Yeah. If I say forget meet, I can't say forget to meet because that immediately makes me think of the future. It's like don't forget to meet somebody to maybe you're arranged to meet a friend at a restaurant. Don't forget to meet him later at 8 o'clock. Yeah,
Mhm.
I hope that's clear.
Yes, it is very clear. So thank you, David. You explained things very well, and I see a lot of things that
Good.
I can't take it away, take home. I don't know how exactly to pronounce this, chunks. Take home, maybe.
Take home. Yeah, there's lots of rules to take home today. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, I think gerunds and infinitives, there are, especially this try to do and try doing. It's very much a nuance. It's not the most important thing to learn, but it's something extra you can learn. And I think it's always good to just learn more and more and more about the language. Even for me, who's a native and doesn't usually have to think about this, it's still very useful to know that there are 2 forms with try to do, try doing, forget to do, or even forget having done. Yeah, there are even more out there, certainly. Okay, we don't really have much time for the last part, reporting verbs. Perhaps we'll just try a few of them. They look a little bit too easy to me. Let's try this one here. So you're using different different reporting verbs to report what happened. If you look at number 1, don't forget to sign the documents, my boss told me. So my boss reminded me to sign the documents. What do you think for number 2? I want you to use advise. David, use advise. Just do 1 or 2 of these.
Okay.
I really don't think you should leave your job. Jack's friend told him. So Jack's friend.
Jack's friend advised him.
Good.
Jack's friends advised him not to leave his job.
Excellent. Number 3, Sergey, you suggest.
I really don't think you should leave your job.
No, we don't. Number 3, sorry, number 3.
Why don't you go for a walk? Said Katie. Katie suggested going for a walk.
Excellent. That's the most natural one. And what about if you want to say that she said it to me? Yeah, and Katie suggested, if you want to include the subject.
It's difficult for me. It's a tall order.
Subjunctive is what I want you to think. Subjunctive.
Katie suggested us to go for a walk.
She suggested that we go for a walk, if you're going to use we, or that I go. And I think we usually put the that in there with these subjunctive verbs. I think we do usually use that. She suggested that we go for a walk, but you don't have to. You don't have to. She suggested I go for a walk. See, she suggested we go for a walk. It's also correct, 100%. Yeah?
Katie suggested we go for a walk.
And it's exactly the same for propose and recommend. They work exactly the same as suggest. I think they're similar. She recommended we go for a walk. She proposed we go for a walk. I go for a walk. That I go for a walk. That we go for a walk. It's exactly the same with recommend and propose. Yeah? Okay. Number 4, last one then. David, last one, number 4. Offer.
Okay. Her husband offered to make the lunch.
Excellent. And there is a lot of confusion with offer and suggest. They're very, very similar, but offer is always when you're doing something for somebody. Suggest is just a plan. It's just an idea. Maybe they'll say yes, maybe they'll say no, most of the time anyway. But we'll stop there for today, guys. Thanks very much for coming along. I always enjoy the live classes. I really do. And we'll do some different things next time. Perhaps we'll find some different grammar, because can't do reporting verbs every single time. But I know there are often mistakes with those reporting verbs, but I thought you both did really well. So I'll let you know on the Grammar Shed when there's another class coming up. Of course, I'll put it always in there, and we'll use Zoom for the moment. But yeah, I'll send you an email as well. I usually email everybody first to let you know. But yeah, if you have a suggestion for what time, let me know in the Grammar Shed. Yeah, I'm always listening to new suggestions for as long as it's 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, I'll certainly consider it. Okay.
Okay, Dave. Thank you very much. It was nice to meet you finally after seeing hundreds of your videos.
Okay, yeah, nice to meet you too, finally, after all this time.
I have learned a lot from you. Thank you very much. Yeah,
my pleasure. And I'm really glad that lessons are helping you. I'm glad that you get something from them. That's fantastic. Okay, take it easy, guys. See you next time.
Thank you.
See you, Sergey. Thank you.
Bye.
My pleasure. See you soon, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.